There, I started. Only a minute later. Only a minute late, an hour and a half, or a half an hour late. A minute late of a half hour late. I don't actually know if the webhook worked. I don't think it did. I guess it doesn't right away. Um, so I'm just gonna have to share it manually still, but that's okay. Copy video link. I'll just put it in here. There it goes. It embedded. Yeah, I don't know how to make it do a thing. Hello. Hi pupper. I don't know how. I'm sure they can see him. No, he's behind my head.
Stop it!
Anyway, we're back on Tolbrand. We started last episode, or during the course of the last episode, we built this whole area, and I used the terrain modification tool to make this, which was not what I would call a success. It left us with this big old divot, which isn't great. I kind of wish I could undo that, but oh well. And we're going to continue building in this direction. We need to build up some hills over here. We've got to build up some hills over here, but first we have to figure out our basic, like, elevations. I think what we were doing with the quasi-contour lines is actually a good idea. So, we will continue from there. When you leave, can you turn the heater on? Because I'm cold. Yes.
Say bye, everybody.
Bye,
Say bye to Lafayette.
Bye, everybody. Bye to Lafayette.
Say goodbye to this fluffy
poor
dog.
Thing. You're just like.
Say goodbye to this fluffy dog. He's getting groomed tomorrow.
Yeah, he's gonna be a little bit less fluffy. Not that much less fluffy, but a little bit less fluffy. So, because we need to be on the way up still, I think we're gonna commit to this terrain work and just sort of go from here. What are you doing? What is that?
Timer.
There's a timer?
Yeah.
What? No, just leave it. Yeah. But just shut the doors most of the way. Then it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, so the cat's around.
Yes, we're gonna go outside, Lafayette.
Well, see, you say that, and then you lollygag, which I do the same.
You asked me to put the
You
heater on.
no, it's not a you specific thing. I'm using the royal you. We both do that, and then he gets all antsy. And he's like, what happened to going out? Anyway, I think we're gonna have to climb at when Matt's actually on for the beginning of one of these. I think we have to climb at maybe 0.75 or something. I'm gonna try 0.5 first. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a track condition. And let's do 0.5. Oh wait, is this vertex height? That's vertex height. This is gradient. What am I doing? 0.5. What a great start. See, so it would make a pretty substantial cut there. Well, substantial is relative. And we do kind of want to follow this line here. But what I can do is I can just build track. Yeah, see, it goes up at more than 0.5. Because if I come over here, that's much lower. I want to be up there, and I need to get... Well, I need to stay away from the edges here. I would like to do this at a 0.5. But I think I set this up at not a 0.5. If I remember, I set it up at like 0.75. But I just can't go in this tile. I need to snake through here. So, having what amounts to a straight line is not necessarily a bad thing. You need to straighten that out. Hey, shoreline. There we go. That's straightened out. It's time. It is time. I don't like this weird broken back curve situation we have either, so I think I'm going to delete these spline points, at least that one, to allow us to have a more gradual turn. But the other issue is kind of obvious, which is that we still need to get through the signal bridge, and we should definitely have some spline points like right here to ensure that it makes this area still work. So let's put in some spline points. Let's straighten these sections of track out. That should be fine. Yeah. I mean, it still is a little bit of a curve to the right if you're coming up this way, but it's not the biggest, sorry, deal. Yeah, so I want to delete both of those, and I wanted to see this big gradual curve and this long straight section, which we can add some intermediate spline points if we need to, but for now we need to be doing things in very sweeping curves, I think. I think that will help enhance what we've got going on here. Now I need to apply the gradient. Okay. So the gradient puts that spline point on a level and that spline point underground. This is our other spline. No, sorry. This is our other spline point. Still underground. So what do we need to do? Because we need to curve in here at the most distant. We need to cut this corner and continue up this way. So I guess to make it something more realistic, we'll say that's the only areas where we can get land. Yeah, and this section is apparently fairly steep. So we're gonna jump up to 0.7. See if that makes a difference. So now we have a bit of an embankment here, which is fine. And then we have this coming out to an embankment here. Now, the issue is this sort of lump right in front of us. We probably need to angle... So if I angle this way, and then I make a sweeping left turn through here, now we're heading towards an area where we're going to be on a pretty substantial embankment. But that's the thing with this railroad that we're building right now, is that they would not be afraid to go all out with the embankments. And part of this, in my head, part of this is actually more of a English sort of looking area, where you have fairly rolling fields. I'm just going to look at this really quick, and I'll probably pull this a little bit this way. The thing I haven't done is actually look at the prototypes for this out in Pennsylvania, which is something that I should be doing. You know, let's see. Let's just go to Harrisburg. I know you can't see this, but I'm gonna take a glance at it on the maps. And I can see the chat, so if anybody has anything to say about anything, you know you can do it. Oops, and I zoomed in on this. So I want to go probably between... Oh, there's a severe thunderstorm warning. Hey, Matt, how is it over there? That is Lancaster. So yeah, this is the area that we're dealing with. And it is pretty flat. There are some areas where the cuts and embankments are not insubstantial. The other thing is it's definitely not afraid to take some turns. In fact, it's a lot of turns. It's mostly turns. Even though it's a lot of straight. So Hey, Brady. Um, this area I think is okay. This is going straight through the center of the hill that we don't really want to deal with, but I think let's just see what it looks like. It's not even that bad, relatively speaking. This I feel like is worse. But it's also going to be on a 4-track main line, so how bad can it really be? How bad can it really look? Um, I think at the end of the day, we just need to balance our cut and fill. And I'm aiming for... Aiming for something around here, I think. Yeah. So if we go to over here and build a straight section, then we are right on the edge. Main shall rise again. Are you doing something funny in Hearts of Iron? I'm sure he is. The idea is I'm trying to aim for most of this to be close to level, but at the end of the day, I just don't want a gigantic mess to deal with. And also some of these turns, I need to make sure the turns are not too sharp. Yeah, see this is leveling out right here. And it's probably going to immediately start cutting back to... No, see, I'm in the danger zone. I can't use this tile. I have to use this one. So it's a 0.7% grade still. But we are still having trouble. So I think we're going to have to do this because it's just what would make sense. So we're just building through here. We'll see how this looks. Oh man, it's windy here. If the stream drops out, it's probably because I lose power. Or because Pat has invaded me or something. So we're going to need to redo that anyway. But I think we have a general idea of what we are doing in terms of how we're going to get from point A to point B. The only issue for me is we're cutting across one of the deepest parts of this valley here. And we're going through the deepest part of this hill here. But, I mean, what else are you going to do? The thing with doing terrain features in Trainz is that it's tough to make a realistic sized terrain feature. You know? So, we laid some tracks. We're going up at a decent rate. I'm going to delete some of the terrain tracks that we were using, which I think were the ones that were holding the gradient. I'm going to delete that. And we'll just look at the way these looked from here, which was much more realistic, a little bit more granular, a little bit more, a little bit less sweeping. But we don't really want tight turns, you know? And I think one of our other alternatives is actually to curve this, or even just have this more off to the right here. Yeah, let's try something. So, we have it more to the right, and we go straight this way, and then we slowly turn this way. Now, because see, that's up in the air. And then we sort of snake this way. I'm imposing a lot of turns that don't really need to exist. but we'll see how it looks compared to what we've got. Which, I really do want these to be distinguishable in terms of infrastructure. The way that the Gilson Eastern works and the way that the VMR works. And so far they definitely are from like a track level, but from a map level. So that's there. I don't have any like funny stories today, really. I don't have anything that I feel like harping on about is the issue. Um, I'm a little tired for some reason, and I think that's leading me to not really want to talk very much and just focus on this, which, you know, I know at the end of the day that is the thing that I'm supposed to do is to get the work done, but I'm also a YouTuber and I need to, you know, have a YouTube presence where I talk about things. Especially for the people that are, the poor saps that are going to watch the VOD. Okay, so we end up getting trapped like that anyway, so I'm going to roll this one back. I think, at least for now. I do like the idea. We'll come back to it later. Point 0.7 seems to be a half decent way to get up this hill. And let's see. We're going to figure out how to get edges on here. The other thing is, I think we need to up the ante a little bit, and we need to make our next contour line from this level, which is absolutely going to be a line that sort of cuts across or curves this way, I think. Even if it's dead straight level, let's just see how that looks. Or, you know, as we do a 0.1, just to keep it, you know. Oh, sorry, wrong track. 4M standard bump. So if we cut right across here with this, and then just juke this way. Oh. Okay, so we didn't like that. We have to get from... Okay, so we're running out of stuff over here. In fact, we have to curve back this way and get up above this contour line. Actually, no, sorry. We need to do it by here. We need to do it. So we managed to miss that. We need to tuck in a little bit more there. Part of me is wondering what would happen if I decreased the gradient over some of this and increased it over the rest. I mean, our ruling grade is 1%. Hey, Mopac. Our ruling grade is 1%, so maybe we can play with the gradients a little bit to have our cut and fill be a little less ridiculous. I don't think changing this is going to make a difference. I expected them to declare war on Michigan. But if we go down to 0.6 for this, that does change this materially. We are doing a little bit of track work. Oh, sorry. What I need is... Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Map options. Show me the gradients. None of this is particularly atrocious. What I'm doing right now, Mopac, is I'm trying to route track over the track work that I did last time, or the groundwork that I did last time, without it being too obnoxious. And this cut is probably going to be the most obnoxious part about it, because we just changed up a little bit to make it a little bit better, with these two being 0.6%. Although, let's see, what have I said? I said that I could change the gradient. I could add intermediate spline points and change the gradient if necessary. So, let's do it like this then. This is going to need to be straightened again. How about, let's try 0.8. We'll do increments of 0.1 unless something else seems to call for it. I mean, that's better. It's not great, but it's better. I mean, I could, again, probably add even more spline points here to make the difference. If I add one right here, does that mess with the curvature? A little bit, it does. It does. But not too bad. I can adjust that. Hogbacks? I don't know what that is. Please elaborate, because I will consider using them once I know what they are. Pull this back a little bit. Tighten that corner up just a little bit. I take that back. Looks better the other way. Hogbacks. Hog rider. Okay, that seems okay. Let's continue with the upgrade here. Yeah, that is better. I do like that. That's nearly flat. This is a steep incline, relatively speaking, which is fine because it doesn't get very high above the ground. And then we need to work on our terrain track, or our contour line, as it were. What is that? Man, it feels drafty in here. It's circulating in the air, and it's just making me cold. Instead of making a fill, they just lay the track down. Instead of making fill or building up a bridge, they just lay the track down and back up a hill. Oh, okay. Well, this is a major high-speed main line, so they probably wouldn't have done that in this iteration. Maybe in earlier designs, but I don't think that would be happening anymore. So that is a good point, though. I will definitely employ that somewhere, just not totally sure where. Oops. Split that. Grab this gradient, actually. 292, because we're going to use that at the other end here to determine our terrain track gradient down. Other on BNSF's main line through the Ozarks. Interesting. So this. And then this. Actually, I shouldn't have done what I just did. Well, actually, I guess I can get away with that, because it sort of explains what's going on a little bit. Which, where does this go into the ground? Right about there? So, we will show, whoops, we will show the very edge of the world here, I guess. Which this is sea level. And for emphasis, we're going to split that. Whoops. And split that. So, yeah, there we go. We'll deal with this side of things later. We'll deal with the ocean side of things at a later date. I'm just trying to lay down basic terrain shapes, I guess. And we need to get rid of the gradient. We're going to put a piece of track from here to over here. And again, we're sort of running into a fallacy with how these slopes work, which is that it's generally kind of gradual and then it drops off uh, towards the sea. Which means that if we're going to do this right, what we need to do is make sort of a three-tier system here, which is this right here, and then probably like another line that comes across right here, another topo line that comes across right here, and then curves this way, and probably zigs back and forth a little bit, and finally ends up over here, which we're doing a topo line, so I need to do that again, because I need to do that with a gradient turned on. And nothing's perfect, and that's intentional. Is he whining?
I don't know what he wants. He's got things and water and
Was he whining?
yeah, he's whining.
Lafayette, what's the matter? He misses his best friend. Where's his best friend?
I don't know where your best friend. Where's the cat?
Lafayette,
I don't know where the cat is.
where's the cat?
He's on the couch looking out the window.
He's learning.
He likes that fucking window.
He's on the couch or he's on the futon? Okay, so
Your brother's looking for you. Hi.
thing is, this is less than ideal. Because we didn't set up this side right, but we're gonna have to figure out how to blend this terrain together. More importantly, yeah, he's out of the carrier. He's out from under the couch. And he's not.
Very good baby.
Yeah, and he's not hanging out in the crate today for no reason.
Oh, hi, big man.
Oh, hey, kitty.
No scratches?
Mhm.
Your brother was looking for you.
But we're gonna have to fill in these topo lines. We're gonna have to do the terrain tracks, and then from there, we can start doing the actual like details. Oops, lag. Can you put those, please, before someone jumps on the couch and eats our food, or licks the plates? Both of them.
Yeah, seeing how Venkman looks like a dog.
Yeah, no. What do you mean? Venkman Lafayette does it more often, but Venkman is way bolder when it comes to invading your personal space to get food. I never thought I'd be using terrain tracks again either, but when it comes to laying down a basic gradient, I still think this is the best way to do it. There are other schools of thought, of course, but I still think this is the best way to lay down a steady gradient. Unless you're saying that because you never thought I'd be building terrain again, which is also fair. Because I wasn't quite sure I would ever be doing it either.
Venkman, are you hungry?
And I do feel a little bit dizzy. Hi, Venkman. So I'm going to be going a little bit slower than usual today. I'm having an off day, I think. I don't know why. I felt a little bit all day. So we put that over there, put this over here. Okay. Lafayette, don't you dare. Yo, well, he likes to hop on the couch and then watch. It's like a teenager with lesbian neighbors. The last time I did this was probably on the TV in ARR. Actually, no, I did some terrain tracking over on the Iron Horseman, And that was sort of the intermediate step between what I do now and what I did then. Because I was doing terrain tracks and then plotting the tracks through them, although in a lot of cases I already had the tracks figured out where they were going to go. And now it is a passive terrain tracks, a passive adjustment with the placement of hills and valleys, like small ones, using a wide, low sensitivity tool. And then you sort of just go from there. Some of these smaller gaps, Lafayette, where'd he go? Lafayette? Oh, okay, he's just observing the cat. Um, because you want some variation. You don't want it to be monolithic. And the other issue that cropped up while I was building stuff on the Timberwolves Vale Anaconda is that when you build stuff with terrain tracks, you need to be conscious of the thing that I try to hammer home constantly, which is that you terrain is not built around your railroad tracks. Your railroad tracks are built around terrain, and there are compromises that have to be made in the hold on. With respect to tunnels, bridges, cuts, and embankments. Those are your railroad's compromises with the world around it. Obviously, you can't hog everything. Uh, you can't build a bridge over everything. It's too much money. You've got to, you know, you've got to compromise. So when you build a good railroad and trains, you need to think about that compromise as you're building. And sometimes you can think ahead of yourself and plan all that compromise out, make it intelligent design of compromise, uh, figure out where all your tunnels and embankments and bridges and cuts are going to go ahead of time, which is something you can do, and curves too, notably. If every railroad had their way, it would be a dead straight, dead flat uh, right of way. You know, look at the Chicago to New York Airline Railroad for a great example of that, and you know where that got them. So you have that. Yeah, it was open. Yeah, I'm sure he'll figure it out. There he is. The DSP&P, I know nothing of their infrastructure, if I'm honest. But I would believe, well, I would have a tough time believing a 3-foot narrow gauge railroad in Colorado was doing their damnedest impression of an airline, but I mean, there are crazy people everywhere, so I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Oh, you know what? I need to add a spline point here. Yes, my love? Oh, I did? Thought I just yawned. Did I burp and yawn? Yes, we do. Are they open on the weekend? Yeah, please check. Um, yeah, so this is the easy way to make sure that compromise happens. And easy is a relative term. Every good Trainz route, they did on the world's highest altitude railway tunnel. Okay, there's that, I suppose. Uh, and that's their compromise. They couldn't go around it, they had to go through it. As much as they tried to go over it. But I digress. The building of the terrain ahead of time is the way to force yourself to make those compromises, or just make a ridiculous looking route. But you have to use your engineering brain to figure out where the stuff goes. That's why I like DEMS. Apparently it's 70 degrees in here, which I think is a lie, but does not feel like 70 in here. But whatever. Yeah, no, Matt, I actually went and specifically downloaded 4M Standard Bump for terrain tracks because nostalgia got the better of me. They're not? Oh, crap. What time are they open the rest of the week? Gross. Yeah. Hey, no. Lafayette. No. 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 Go lie down. Go lie down.
Here, come. Now. No. Come here.
I mean, we can do it like wicked early on Monday or something. I mean, do you have to be there? Or can I just go get it?
No, I have to check this.
Oh, okay. Anyway, forced compromise. That's my spiel for today. Which is just a carry on of the spiel from last time. You're probably gonna hear it about once a week until I'm done doing terrain on the section because terrain and track work because that's just the way it is. Um, that's just the thing that we need to pay attention to. And honestly, if I the more I think about it, the more I realize that I should be doing more topo line terrain tracks than pretty much anything else for starters because it's a great way to decide how your terrain's going to look without drawing out all the terrain, um, or without creating it and seeing. But this is going to be, I think, a good middle ground. And I will consider these not even terrain tracks, these topo lines that I've drawn, if only so that I can call them topo lines. Anyway, I need to contact Vistaprint because we have a trading card conundrum on our hands. It's not that the cards are wrong, it's that I'm missing envelopes. I'm missing 35 envelopes. I don't know where they went. I don't know how they went, but I'm missing 35 envelopes. In fact, I wasn't even certain that that was possible because if I'm going to be frank, the uh, the envelopes come in packs of 10, and I've used them in packs of 10. There's been no time that I've used 5, so I don't understand how I'm going to have 5 left over when they come in packs of 10. Um, I don't know. That is perplexing me. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what caused me to be short 5. Unless like a stack of envelopes got shoved into a bigger envelope with no trading cards in them. But that doesn't make any sense either. There are 500 cards. That should divide evenly into 10. There should have been 50 packs of envelopes. But with the number of cards that I have left, it just doesn't follow. I am using Trainz 22 now. Part of me wants to pull everything apart and see if I can find the missing envelopes, but it doesn't make any sense. Thankfully, I can reopen everything and see. Yes. Yes, you can. Um, hmm. Oh, what the hell am I... What the heck am I gonna do with that? I don't understand how this could have happened. Actually, there is one other way it could have happened, which would be not so good. Which is if I, in my stupor one day, put in a put in 2 standard cards in the same pack. And I don't know when that would have happened. I don't really know how that would have happened. but it may have happened. And so I'm thinking someone somewhere might end up getting 2 standard cards, which would be an error on my part, but it would be quite some time to go through and check them all. I think I'm going to have to check them all anyway, because when I'm going to sort them into packs, or when I'm going to sort them for distribution, I'm going to check to make sure that everything's fine. What am I working on now? I am doing terrain work between Mason's Landing and Bellington. There's going to be another town along the way that we haven't figured out yet, but that is what I'm doing. I'm back to using terrain tracks to try and fill in a very large area, of which I am most of the way done building this enormous harpsichord, but it's little more than half, so this is going to be relatively slow going. There's not an easier way yet that I've found to make a consistent low grade, like less than 1%. Now, when you get up into higher grades and you have more elevation change and variation per unit distance, then you can get away with not doing this and doing full-on plateaus. But the thing is, this is a massive area, and doing this with the plateau tool would very quickly get out of hand. You wouldn't be able to get a consistent anything across this area. And yes, in some respects that is the point, but if you want a gradual ascent, you need to do more than play with the plateau tool and the up and down tools. It won't come out. It won't come out pretty. You'll have a big drop off halfway through, probably. Which you can spread that out, but, you know. Either way, my bottom line is I'm going to get all the cards into packs. It'll become readily apparent if a pack somewhere has more than one standard card. But at the very least, I need to, finish packaging them up, and I'm still missing some envelopes. Maybe there was a mistake in my order, maybe I made a mistake in my order, but I'm missing 30 envelopes. Maybe they fell at the bottom of the box because it was practically ripped in half when it arrived at my door. Or Porch Pirate decided to steal 30 envelopes. I don't know what they would have thought was in them, but, you know, something. At least they didn't steal the cards. Anyway. So we'll fill this in. And then we're going to raise these all up. When something gets to be this large, yes, it's a monotonous, it's a monotonous task, but it will go quicker doing it like this than it will doing little sections at a time. So you're saving, you're spending a nickel to save $1, I guess, or something like that. Oh my god. I actually talked to Lauren today. BR52. Why? I talked to Lauren today, and we're gonna get that that picture, and I'm gonna get one of 2174 as well for the other special order. I will say right off the top that boilerplate going forward, special orders will incur an additional cost for any cost associated with requisitioning a picture for use. The Rare Museum of Pennsylvania is pricey, but not the most expensive that we've seen, that's for sure. The Denver Public Library is pretty inexpensive, at least as far as I can tell. There are some other organizations that hold the rights to a lot of photos that are very, very expensive, and it really comes down to where I can find a picture of a given locomotive. And if you were to request a special order trading card from me, and you can supply your own photo, whether that be one you have taken or one you have the rights, the commercial rights to, so you know the person that's taken it and you have secured the commercial rights to it in one way or another, that's is it raining now? Uh, then I can use it. The first special order I did actually used a photograph from the person who requested the card, so it was a flat $20. The ones after that, a little more expensive. Can we get a Reading 113 card? You can order a Reading 113 card. It'll be $20, and I have pictures of Reading 113. Or sorry, wait, Reading 113. I thought you meant CNJ 113. Yeah, I mean, yes, you can order a Reading 113 special order if you so desire. Um, just getting the right to the photo is going to be another one of those things. There are not a ton of photos of Reading 113. There aren't a small amount, though. It's not like we only have one or two to choose from. So, you know, that remains to be seen. Can we get an African Railroad hand car? No, that's not a steam locomotive, so no. Someday in the future, I would like to work out helper cards, which would be for Locomotive Versus specifically, although they may also be used in Locomotive Royale, and whatever the other format is, double headers or etc. Uh, I think a term with a a game with 5 cards where you hand off from one to the next is probably going to be a relay, a locomotive relay, or a locomotive duel, perhaps, instead of a locomotive versus. Although, what do you call a sort of team game, I guess? And don't say a sport. Uh, locomotive gridiron. Lafayette, what are you doing? So, yeah, there we go. You're almost to the end of this. The issue with doing locomotive versus with diesels, because we have tried this before, locomotive dogfight, that's a fun one. The issue with doing it with diesels is just that there are not as many statistics available or that even exist. Um, the thing with diesels, and the hypothetical thing with diesels in a helper locomotive head-on does not sound good. Uh, in a helper situation, Lafayette, no, no, he was in the litter box. Look at his nose. Go in your crate.
Yep.
He
No.
just goes. He goes right in the crate. He just walks straight in the crate. Bad boy.
Bad boy.
Oh my god. I mean, he's a good boy, but he's a bad boy. Locomotive head on. Yeah, no, that is funny. It's not good. I wouldn't use it, but it's funny. Um, it has a certain connotation that is not the thing that I want to exude here. But I mean, I took the term roundhouse royale already for something else, and it wouldn't be a royale; it would be a versus. But I think a locomotive duel is a good idea. Locomotive breakdown. Anyway, with the helper cards, I think the thing that would be the best with them is you try to match up the statistics. Look, a mashup. Uh, you try to match up the statistics that steam locomotives have with ones that diesels have, and etc. Which you can get away with some adjustment. Obviously, there's nothing like heating surface or anything like that, but you know, number built, number in class. Um, excuse me, I'm gonna blow down. Locomotive boiler explosion, Tyler. Uh, these are almost the same until you bring in 4 units. Yeah, no, that's tug of war is an interesting one. The issue is just that there aren't enough statistics. Locomotives in the Locobase, you have usually 35 to 40 unique statistics, and when we put them in the trading cards, we even try to stretch them out by doing very rough calculations for any numbers we might not have, like axle loading. A lot of engines don't have axle loading. The shop doesn't even provide it. But you can get an approximate axle loading by dividing, approximate minimum axle loading, by dividing the weight on drivers by the number of driving axles. Because those are probably going to be your heaviest weighted axles overall. You would hope anyway. But then you can do that, and you can do some math for the other stuff, but that is your minimum. It may be higher. Number of gears is very clearly a feasible and well-known statistic, yeah. Class A Climax card, when? Has 2 gears, high and low. Solid. How about a stick-shift steam engine? Alright, look at this beautiful harp. Now we need to fill this in. The manufacturers provide that info. I thought they did. Not always. You can find the erecting card, builder's drawings, etc., and they don't necessarily have axle loading, because a lot of railroads just didn't care. It wasn't a big deal to them. They would do their own sort of figuring in-house for what they could run a locomotive on, and if they had built their infrastructure properly, or at least built the hell out of it, it wouldn't be much of a concern. The only thing you'd worry about is the overall weight of the locomotive, which is something that is on just about every card. So, yeah, that is the kind of thing where we've had to stretch our math chops a little bit for these trading cards and add asterisks saying, hey, this was calculated specifically for this card, and that means, well, not only does it differ for something on the loco base, it may be a, sort of a guess, an educated guess as to what that number might be. Locomotive Stampede. Long live the king. I still like Locomotive Duel better than anything. But it isn't really a duel. I mean, these are all good ones. Locomotive Dogfight I like. It's just not, that's not something you do with, Ellis, you could use an auto clicker. Yeah, I know. I've never once ever touched an auto clicker, so I'm not about to start today. And plus, I'm only clicking each one like 5 times or so. Locomotive Filibuster. Locomotive Senate. Locomotive Debate, except that was the very thing that we created Locomotive Versus to quell. Which it's funny how the rules of Locomotive Versus have not changed very much, and the rules of Loco Royale are like we just sort of acknowledge the fact that this is a game, and it's going to be treated like a game, and it's going to be played like a game, and it has to be gamey. Not like we need to throw the stats out the window for the sake of gaming, but more like we need to make it more engaging than informative, almost. Locomotive Wars, Locomotive Roundup, those are all good. Locomotive Scrapping. Where's Graham? Graham used to always say they were going to scrap 611. That was a good meme for a long time. Are there facts for diesel and electrics? Dare I say terms that are set in stone? Like, you can get numbers. There just aren't as many. World of War Locomotive Aggregation. Locodome. Yes! Enter the Locodome. That's actually great. Locomotive Warzone. Locomotive Ukraine. The Locodome. That's so much fun. Locomotion. Yeah. Feel like we can't use that one. for reasons. When you're asking your girlfriend to play with your trading cards, come on, baby, do the locomotion.
I'm sorry, what?
What? Come do the locomotion with me. No, no comment, no response. Locomotive slap down. Loco dome. Just let go about locomotion. Damn, she gives loco dome. Okay. We are most of the way done. And then we're going to use plateau tool for a lot of the rest of this because it doesn't matter that much. Loco rail of war. Yeah. Locomo brothers. They gotta save the princess Jeep. Sorry, Mario, your princess is in another roundhouse. How about Kriegsloch? What does that mean? What does that mean in German? I mean, something locomotive, right? East, what does that mean? Uh, Kriegsloch. Well, Blitzkrieg. So, what, it's just war locomotive? Blitzkrieg presumably literally translates to fast war. I love trying to, yeah, okay. I love trying to figure out uh, what things mean in languages that I do not understand. Uh, okay, yeah, yeah. I'm glad to see that I was right. Uh, just and I'll see something, and oh, trust me, I know what they are. I'm very well aware of what they are. They are a menace in Locomotive Royale. I'll just say that much. But oh, what the hell was I saying? Yeah. Uh, I like to look at I like to look at something like I'll see a sign that's like in Spanish or something, especially if there isn't the English translation right next to it. I'll sit and I'll think like, okay, what does that mean? What what bits of the language do I know that I can put together a functional explanation or like just figure out rudimentary what that might mean. And usually I can't get anything, but I guess I figured out war locomotive. What a stretch that was for me. That was that was a real hard mode right there. Okay. Yeah, 3 or 4 clicks on each is usually the sweet spot. Uh, I have learned over many years of doing this. Man, now I kind of want to know when I was doing this for like bits of the 3 foot gauge in on the TV and ARR. Also, we're getting to the point where it's getting a little bit striated. It's gonna get worse from here, and this is why we have to go over it with the plateau tool. Show recommendation: Moon Knight. If you rearrange it, you get Locomotive War. Yes, and that is a good one. Uh, I just don't. I'm just not in love with the vibe. Um, okay, and at some point we're gonna have to delete all these. But for now, what we need to do actually is the other side of this, which is backfill this area here, and then blend the two together. So grab this and use it. There we go. Tracks have to get up to this level. And nothing needs to be perfect, really. That is sort of where we're at. I mean, we know that nothing needs to be perfect because nature is not perfect, although in a sense it is. Uh, and if we make a little nick here or there, like this, That's not a big deal. A whole new section? If so, what's its story? Yes. So this is a whole new section. We are going inland from the coast. We are going through farms to the farming town of Bellington, the small mill town of South Bellington, and everything in between, which is mostly farm fields and one small town which is yet to be named. I'm not sure what I want to call it. I have no idea what to draw inspiration from. Although I'm wondering if I can pay homage to the multiplayer route we were making, the Trainz multiplayer route we were making, and go with whatever I was supposed to name my town where I met with East there, which I think was Charlotte. I think it was supposed to be Charlotte. So that just crossed my mind. Call it Farmville. No, how about I don't though? Uh, for a while, Gloria was playing this farming game on her phone, and I don't remember what it was, but I thought I saw a farm in the background, and I just insisted on calling it Farmville because it's all Farmville to me. I if Farmville still exists, then I still have a farm. Farmington. Okay, Hemlock. Call it Shoebox. Shoebox Canyon. Shoebox Canyon has to be the name of name of something. I'll say. Should write that down on my ideas. Let's see. Where's my ideas? Oh, they're on this tab. Ideas. Let's find, where do I just have, like, names stashed away? Bar called Hey Ho. Giant Skyline, Tombstone, station names, town name ideas. Shoebox Canyon, Charlotte. Anyway, Shoebox Limestone Mines. And go this way. We've got to fill in this whole area. We're probably going to use copy paste for a good portion of it. And there we go. We have arrived. We also need to build the mountains in this corner. We also need to get rid of these 4 tiles because they're unnecessary. They were sort of a test. Okay. Now, click off that so I don't screw something up. Click off that immediately. Punch that like button. Be right back. Exactly. Punch that like button. If there's anyone here that's new to the channel, you can speak up or forever hold your peace. I do this every Thursday. There's supposed to be a webhook that puts it out on the Discord channel when I go to stream, but unfortunately that's not working. Something's working. It does it when there's a video, but it doesn't do it when there's a stream, I guess. I don't know how often they run. I don't know how often the webhook runs. Yeah, you're new? Huh. Weird. Uh, you remind me of my son. Okay. So, there we go. We're just going to fill all this area in like this. Because it will be quicker than doing it the quote-unquote right way. With the land tool. I also would like to spin it because that might be more efficient. There we go, there we go. There we go. Oops. Oh boy. Of course you are. The Iron Horseman account is not to be used for shenanigans, my friends. It's for serious business only and a minor amount of trolling. It'd be kind of funny if there was an actual, what do you think is an underrated train game? That's a good question. Underrated. See, I feel like I'm out of the loop on too many train games. I know I've preached to you in particular, Ace, about how Factorio is like the next best thing to Locomotion, or like the next best iteration. Uh, thank you. Um, Underrated though. I mean, if anybody, hmm, I don't know. I feel like a lot of them get the praise they deserve. I don't see people talking about Derail Valley as often as they probably should be. Um, any business on it? What did I miss something? Um, Transport Fever 1. Yeah, I mean it's a good game. I wouldn't call it underrated, but yeah, I mean I guess it does get over overlooked a lot. Um, yeah, I feel like maybe in my personal friend group and in within the, well, which is the Iron Horseman Discord, uh, people give Locomotion the respect it deserves because I've made Locomotion videos for years and years and years. Uh, I guess if it isn't loved elsewhere, then that would make sense. I have no love lost for Sid Meier's Railroad, so I don't really have anything to say about it in that regard. Uh, I think it's a game. I haven't played it in many years. I never really played it to begin with. It's got some cool concepts that I like. That I think would do a great job going into other games, like oh shucks, um, like the way that it handles buying out, etc. It does it's Railroad Tycoon 3, but a little bit dumbed down. It's a little bit simpler. It has its plus sides, but I think if you're gonna play a game, if you're choosing between Railroad Tycoon 3 and Sid Meier's Railroads, you're probably gonna pick Railroad Tycoon 3 like 9 times out of 10. But Sid Meier's is a good enough game for what it is. Uh, Old and free train game that gets no time on stage. What would that be? Derail Valley Railroads is not as good as I remember. Oh, I thought, yeah, it's it's yeah. I came to it a little bit late. I think I sort of missed the boat on it. When I finally had hardware that could play it, uh, I was already like deep in the woods of Trainz, so it just didn't. I'd already been playing Locomotion for so long, and I was used to having to route trains around one another. Mini Metro is fair. I wasn't gonna reach that far. I feel like Mini Metro gets the props it deserves, though. Yeah, as far as not getting the props it deserves, Locomotion is maybe there. I feel like too many people that play OpenTTD don't even think about Locomotion. Um, People like to gush about train games, and Locomotion doesn't get a lot of time in that spotlight. Um, oh yeah, Railway Valley is a thing. I remember that. Um, I don't know. There are a lot of games out there. It's called Train Valley now. They've done the whatchamacallit, the not the Railroads Online thing. They've done the Transport Fever thing where they just, yeah, it's the same game ish with the same ish title. Purcell, that's a good one. I'll write that down. I like that. With or without mods? For what? For Locomotion? because it's a pretty good game without mods. It's a lot of game with mods. OpenTTD is sort of the same way, from in my understanding. Um, yeah, I think that Russian game. Yes, that Russian game, abso-freaking-lutely. I know the one you're talking about, like the Siberian Railway one, that's like super realistic, because that is really, really cool. I saw a video of that. Um, I hope the devs don't all end up in Gulag for like protesting the war or something, or worse, end up on the front lines because they want to fight in it. uh, yeah, no, that the Siberian train game is really, really cool. Minecraft, yeah, Minecraft, the train game. Although in fairness, you can get some pretty decent mods for Minecraft that do real underrated train game Minecraft. Yeah. You can get some mods that do a lot with trains in Minecraft. I've never fussed with immersive railroading, but I fussed with Rails of War, and that was fun. Um, play with Railcraft or Traincraft. But yeah, no, I do think Derail Valley doesn't get the props it deserves. For the fact of the matter is, I think they ought to be the gold standard when it comes to VR train controls and even just first person train controls in general, because they do it in a way that, certainly, no offense, Railroads Online has not managed to figure out yet. It's just they have a grasp on it that that people in the Railroads Online development should be taking notes on. Just the way they handle, not even necessarily what the controls are, just the way you interact with them. Because there are hotkeys, there are the first person grab and drag. There's also just mouse over it and scroll wheel to change it, and that is my favorite thing in the world. Um, Railroads Online needs that. For Laramie, Ohio. Uh, I will keep that in mind for a fort in the future. Let me write that down. Oops, wrong tab. I don't necessarily need to mark down that that's Oklahoma because I'm happy using that in any place with a fort. Uh, see, there's the difference though between a game being underrated and a game just being not well known about. I feel like Derail Valley is written off in the face of similar things like Run 8, which it is weird to call Run 8 a similar thing to Derail Valley, but if you look at it, it is. It's a first person experience with relatively realistic physics. Now, you can't go flying off the track and blow up a train of tank cars in Run 8, but the basic idea of the gameplay without the tycoon or, the money side of it is the same. And I have no idea how they handle in-cab controls. I've never touched it. I would almost go as far as to say Run 8 is overrated, but that is only because I found the thing that scratches my itch, which is Railroad. Um, yeah, the I'm gonna be honest. The DE6 in Derail Valley is a beast. It's a beast. It's awesome. It feels going from the shunter to the DE6 makes you feel like suddenly you've unlocked all the power in the universe. It makes you feel like you've got the sixth infinity stone in your gauntlet and you can snap away half of a rail yard in one single move and drag it all the way across the map, which if there's a lot of empty cars you totally can. uh, but that's the thing with Derail Valley is it is a heaping helping of decent train operation, of good train operation, with a side of personal management, and additionally, you've got that that physics side of it, which isn't really physics. It's not. Florida is also a town in Massachusetts. It's not one of those things where, like very few things, like Railroads Online and Gary's Mod, where your train is a physics object on a track, which is a physics object, and they are colliding, and that's how you're staying on the track. No, it's more like trains in that your train is on a specified set path, and if you overspeed, it just unlocks you from it, and you go flying. Um, so, you know, that's the kind of thing that you need to be that sets Rares Online apart. It's the kind of thing that sets Gary's Mod apart. What is an underrated train game? Gary's Mod. Uh, and I'm saying that not as a reflection on myself, but on the reflection of lots of people who play a lot of Gary's Mod and really enjoy building and running their own trains, because it presents physics in a way that basically no train simulator did up to Railroads Online. Uh, Underrated train sim real life. Yeah, I mean, it's only underrated if you have the money to afford it. The entry level $500, getting to drive Valley Railroad number 40, perfect, great. It's a good everything game, is right. I should boot it up more than once a year, but I'm not gonna. I've just found it difficult to do anything in Gary's Mod. Just like that's my downfall with Gary's Mod, is just it is so much work to do whatever you want to do. And I'm certain that there are instances in which I am going about it wrong, and therefore I am making it more work for myself, or I'm just hitting a brick wall because I don't know what I'm doing, which happens often. But it just seems like so much effort, like to set up a private room for doing something like Trouble in Terrorist Town. It was it seemed like far from a simple process and not something that I could just whip up out of thin air. Uh, Setting up like a private server for doing Gary's Mod stuff. Gary's Mod's got a lot of cool stuff though. Got to give it that. Um, yeah, see, look how these bluffs look. This isn't the best, but it's pretty darn good. Was only lacked a quarter. Got to ride in the cab of Black Hill Central 110. Uh, Only lacked a quarter. How much is it to get a cab ride at Black Hills? Or how much was it at that point? Uh, okay. Who's cut that out. Don't make me change the password for the Iron Horseman account. Most underrated train game is Lionel Train Town. That's a Fandermander. Yeah, right. Uh, One that I actually have never got to play. I've never played Lionel Train Town. Don't crucify me. Uh, it just wasn't one of the games I had growing up, and I'm sure everyone knows. At a young age, you're kind of beholden to what your parents feel like getting you. Like I was lucky to get Trainz 2006 and Locomotion, and played the ever living hell out of them. Uh, no idea what Lionel Train Town even is. Uh, it's a game. I know there was like a dispatching puzzle mode or something in that where you could control uh, just signals to route trains around and they would slam into each other if you did it wrong. Uh, and if I had had that as a kid, maybe I would have ended up an actual dispatcher because I would have figured out that, boy, does that scratch an itch. Uh, and I would like to think that as a dispatcher, I'd be like a benevolent dictator, just like letting the Amtrak trains go. Model trains are underrated. in a sense, I suppose. Um, Model trains are overpriced. Uh, Although, you can find the greatest deals out there. Lego Loco. What is that? Yeah, well, I'd go out a martyr. I'd I would go out to I would go out a martyr, and then I would get a lawyer and say I was following the federal law. Uh, you can't fire me. And if they say, well, company policy is against the federal law, or is company policy is this, don't follow the federal law, then I'm gonna say you've activated my trap card, and then FRA agents are gonna storm the building and carry away BNSF's legal team, and then finally the union will be able to strike. What if I dispatch for Amtrak? Then I'll definitely be making the Amtrak trains go first. Duh. Oh, did I just cut out? Hello? 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 It shows as fine. Can I not be heard? Oh, it's just Hemlock. That's unfortunate. Okay. Uh, my good what? So there we go. Let's smooth that out. And then now we need to close this clunge. You're a good dog. Where is he? Lafayette. He's in the crate because he was bad. He was eating cat litter. I like how he just went straight in. He came in with litter on his nose, and I was just like, and he just walked straight into the crate. Like, I know, I was bad. Ugh. You should have a rock on your route called Subscribers Rock. That's a good one. Oh man, I need to write that down. I should write that down. Hold on. I'm just gonna put that in ideas. I'm just gonna put it as a station name idea. Subscribers Rock. That's fantastic. Thank you for saying that. That makes my day. So realistically, there should be a road along the waterfront here, but it is the 50s. There aren't a ton of paved roads. I mean, there are more than there have been, but there aren't a ton. And plus, train good, car bad. So I need to figure out the road network for this area as well as we move along with this. I need to figure out the road network for this area, but I can't really connect it to anything until we do, well, two more segments after this one. So God knows how long that's going to take. In the year 2525, we finally finished Bellington, and we're moving on to the next segment. Um, yeah, no, can't do copyrights. Gotta get permission. I can do a CNJ 113 card pretty easily. There are locomotives I have pictures of that would probably fit on a card. There are locomotives that I know people who have pictures of that would do great on a card. But, you know, I'm not going to be making the cards all willy-nilly. We've got to figure out, let's see, I have a bunch of people I'm waiting on survey responses from. I need to start putting things together for the second batch of cards once I finish this one. Need to figure out where that missing uh, Everett 11 card went, or LS&I card went, I can't remember which. I caught myself putting an extra LS&I card into a pack once, so there's a non-zero chance that happened more than once, and I'm going to have to check them all. So, well, yeah, it's not great. But I do think I'm just missing. I think what may have happened is I may have missed a checkbox somewhere, and one of my orders didn't come with envelopes. So I'll have to call up Vistaprint customer service. The envelopes were free with the order anyway, so I hope they can just send me more. Um, Considering I don't think it was my goof. May have been. Don't think it was though. Not about to admit that it was my goof. I don't know if I should have contacted them immediately when my package came in torn, but I didn't. Um, okay. Again, nothing really seemed to be damaged on account of it. Oh, something we can do is build this into more of an actual riverbed-ish, I guess. There's rocks and whatnot. Any plans to make a very extinct, very eroded volcano, or at least a crater lake? Ooh, that's an interesting idea. I hadn't thought about any sort of volcanic activity. If there would be any, it would be on the north side of the peninsula. Or sorry, the south side of the peninsula. Um, so maybe yes, maybe I can do that. Maybe that would be a very cool idea. Certainly not something active, but yeah, some old volcanic, uh, I guess remains wouldn't be out of the question. And I do like geologic history. I've talked about that at length when it with respect to setting this route up. There's sort of a volcano thing. I wouldn't just use it right away. I would actually probably want to draw my own crater lake. You know, build your own crater lake. BYOL. So, and this is all bumpy, which I didn't want, but we're just gonna deal with it. And the other thing is, we can't really do much about that because of the way this works. I mean, it's if I just build some like random hills and valleys, and then I paste them over top of this, dikes and mines would be plentiful. Yeah, no, it's the there is volcanic activity, or at least historically there would have been volcanic activity in on parts of this peninsula because we've got all those minerals. Um, I really just want. That's the issue with doing this, and I am gonna use it again because I want to, but there's no easy way to make this look good. Um, I'll try it one more time. And we'll go even bigger this time. So let's cover this massive 3 tile by 3 tile area. Like so. And we'll do something like displacement 03, I guess. Displacement 02. Displacement 02. And I will move one singular pixel away from the edge. Well, see, now that looks a little bit better. Look at that. Look at the way that peaks and valleys in a 3x3 area. It provides just enough variation to allow something to happen, but at the same time, it doesn't look bad, really. And so the way I'm going to handle this is I'm going to grab the whole damn thing, because it's centered around 0, 0. Grab the whole damn thing, and I'm going to paste in addition to add the height, just the height. And I'm going to go to, let's say, I need to go to the middle of a tile. So let's say right here. Actually, I kind of want to go to here. And we'll paste it. Don't crash on me. Oh, I saw movement. Okay, we're going to have to blend the edge, but that's not the end of the world. Okay, hold on. It created a variation across this whole thing, and yes, we're left with some weird striations, and the way the ground is all bumpy. It doesn't look particularly good. But what are you going to do? Once you paint it, if you paint it, right? Let's just cover the ground with something. Well, that looks atrocious, but point is you can hardly tell. Even if I go far as to do that and then I look. No, it looks pretty fine once you get the texture on it. And yeah. So, as mentioned, okay, first of all, we have a piece of track here that needs to go away, apparently. And it's gone. Oh, you also need to go. Oh, wait, I missed a corner. No, I didn't miss a corner. I'm dumb. I just didn't, there we go. Now we need to go around the edge and blend the edge, but honestly, not a bad result. I'm not upset with the result, that's for sure. Unfortunately, it's a little bit higher than everything else, so that is kind of not ideal. But look how much happened from just one little adjustment. And I don't think I can undo it either, so I need to stop ruminating and start working because I can't change it now. Okay. Gonna need a higher sensitivity than that. Grounded from bringing back memories when I used to hike with my mother. That's interesting. Where did you hike? Hopefully not in my Trainz world. I mean, I know how it feels to run into a cliffside when hiking. I went up Mount Washington, and there's some bits where you've got to clamber. It's not an easy hike. It's not really a hard hike. It's just really long. Despite the fact that you're going up 3,000 feet, it doesn't it doesn't it doesn't wear you out so much as it just wears your feet out. Ah, I see. Black Hills. Um, but yeah, there is a volcano over here. Where is it? Yeah. Also, I could have done one of these valleys which doesn't have a bright edge. Although it added this, so I don't really know what happened here. Either way, point is, close that, reset. Thankfully, there's that X button, which saved me a few clicks. I have yet to visit North Dakota, or either of the Dakotas, or really anything up that way. I've never been to Montana. I've never been to Seattle. Or, Seattle is not a state. But I'm just thinking from when I took the train places, I didn't take the Empire Builder, so I didn't transfer through Seattle, so I have not been to Washington. Uh, I've never really been to the Northwest. I've been to Oregon a couple of times. Actually, I have transferred in Seattle. I've taken a plane through Seattle, so there's that. But I know that isn't much to to say. Um, I would love to do the Empire Builder someday before another administration comes in and ruins Amtrak for good. But it's on my priority list. Unfortunately, it's a little ways down there because I don't have too much that I'm running to get to up that way. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna get out to see Montana Rail Link, so that's not. Are you letting him out? He's served his time. Well, Lafayette, did it change you being on the inside? No, it absolutely didn't. He's about to go right back to that litter box. I would have liked to see Montana Rail, but I think it's just one of those that people need to let go. I'm not sure what you mean. Uh, yeah, no, it's Amtrak needs letterbox seeking missile. That's our pup. Never mind, I understand what you mean now. He is. He is. He's the worst. He's a menace, but we love him very much. Okay. This edge is not gonna fly. I'm pushing down and to the left to sort of get this gradual transition up without making too much of a mess otherwise. The thing is, on this side, it's a little bit more difficult because we have these three tiles to play with, and I'm not really sure what to do about that. Despite driving next to MRL, I've only ever seen MRL rolling stock. Well, I'm running out of time. You could work as a CP dispatcher and you wouldn't get in trouble for dispatching Amtrak correctly. Yeah, thanks CP. At least there's one good railroad out there. Yeah, no kidding, Amtrak needs help. The thing with anything that takes public money, it is way easier to get people on board with buying new stuff than it is with rebuilding old stuff. And there are a lot of transit agencies out there, and Amtrak I'm including under that banner, even though they're not, uh, that will want to maintain their plant, but they'll fail to get the money for it because that isn't very flashy. It's a line item that's easily cut, and Amtrak suffers the same thing because it's at the whims of the taxpayers. Not that it would be any better off if it didn't have to worry about the taxpayers, but it'd be arguably much worse off. But that's a that is a completely different subject. It has to it has to justify its own existence constantly, but not in terms of revenue. It needs to justify its own subsidy. Basically, it needs to everything that they want to put money towards. They need to get it typed out in boldface font why this thing is necessary. And rebuilding the old locomotives because they keep breaking down is not very. It doesn't look pretty on a letterhead, so to speak. It doesn't look pretty on a stage or on a PowerPoint. It's all about, ooh, we can buy new locomotives, we can buy new coaches, we can do this, we can add that, and the additions, they largely don't go anywhere because they don't. Because at the end of the day, there's a significant portion of Congress that really does not care at best about Amtrak, and at worst actively wants to dismember it. Um, I I disagree that the new stuff looks ugly. I kind of like it, but I'm notoriously easy to please. So, uh, they they have a much easier time justifying these bigger purchases with new locomotives and new stuff, and it's it's easy to understand why it just hurts to watch, because you look at this and go, well, but this is what Amtrak needs. If you put a railroad CEO in charge of Amtrak, and I mean a good old fashioned railroad baron style railroad CEO, and not somebody who cares about the profit margin too much. Someone who you give them a stated goal of just make Amtrak better, not more profitable, better. Uh, Make it suck less for the nation of people that want to use it. I have no idea if they are or not. I have a picture of one, but that doesn't help your question. Um, and you give them not a blank check, but what amounts to one. And you say, okay, go. And you can get some wonderful things out of Amtrak. Amtrak doesn't have to suck. It doesn't. Uh, you know, don't listen to the dissenters. Don't listen to the people saying that passenger rail is always doomed for failure. It's not. It's not, as long as you treat it with the respect it needs and give it the care it deserves. Or the respect it deserves and the care it needs. I need some more water. Now, you can do these crazy big budget things like grade separation, right of way separation, electrification, but with some lawmakers on your side and agencies on your side and a a concerted effort to just put in equipment and routes and timetables the way they need to be, you can make Amtrak pretty good, I would think, or at least passable, without any major infrastructure improvements beyond things like station improvements, perhaps. Um, and yeah, there are areas where, okay, you're going to want to do some improvements to straighten out some track and get some speeds up higher, etc. You're going to want to make sure that freight trains are giving you the priority you deserve. And from there, we really aren't dealing with a world with rail infrastructure that's very different than it was 70 years ago or even 80 years ago. Yeah, there were more tracks then, but that's not the biggest problem. It's not like we're running out of tracks anywhere. There are very few areas in the United States that we have a rail line working at capacity. Even a single track rail line can handle quite a few trains a day. A double track rail line can handle a lot of trains a day. And even if, you know, 4 of those are Amtrak. That's not a lot. That's not too bad. It all depends on how long your single track sections are. I know that's kind of a elephant in the room, but if the freight railroads 70 years ago, 80 years ago, could make do with steam power, heavyweight coaches, and not much else, none of the fancy tricks, no radios, uh, no CTC really. Um, there, we can do so much more with what we've got today without changing very much. It's only the philosophy that has changed. Let's see, is anybody written in here? What is this? Oh, thanks, Pat. Um, who pinged me in here? Who pinged me? Oh, there it is. Lego Loco intro. Okay. Intro. I see. I see. Ooh, Volvo 740 wagon. Okay. Oh, absolutely, they can handle more. More tracks is more better. Uh, you're preaching to the choir. I'm a standards man, but you can do a lot with 2 tracks. You can do a lot with 1 track. You can do more than we're currently doing. Um, it won't be the end of the world if, uh, you know, if the Gevos on stacks have to move over for a minute. I know we are spoiled by our Amazon necessities arriving in less than 24 hours, but I'd like to arrive at my destination less than 24 hours behind schedule. Um, I think that's an attainable goal, don't you? Freight railroads don't agree. Everyone likes to point mismanagement. Everyone likes to point at Amtrak as if they've been criminally mismanaged in some way, when at the end of the day, most of their problems are everyone's fault but theirs. If instead of going for profit, what if we went for people? Yeah. If I said, here's my stated goal for Amtrak, you know, make Amtrak better. What do I mean by better? More ridership. Go. You don't want to cut services because you lose riders. Like, you've already got people riding those places. You want to make everything better across the board. You want to go as far and as fast and as high as you can in terms of getting people where they need to go across the board. Um, yeah, of course, there's once you bring in the money question. Well, sorry, I'll phrase it like this. You could say, well, we're going to cut these services that don't have a lot of people so we can spend money on the uh, we can spend money on the other services that will transport more people. And to you, I would say, don't worry about the money. Just, you've got 5 years, go. And if we can magic equipment out of thin air, basically I'm saying 5 years as a moderate timeline, and also to limit the amount of infrastructure projects that might be able to get done in 5 years. But if money is no object, you can throw any amount of money at something. Although I suppose California high-speed rail has shown that just chucking money at the problem isn't always a solution. It does get you closer, but not at any decent rate of speed. You need to actually think about these things. Railroads work for us. It would require the freight railroads to increase priority with incentives. I mean, I would just actually fine them, like a decent amount, like an amount that actually matters. Because as it stands, they either don't get fined, or they get fined such like minuscule amounts that it's a cost of doing business for them. It's okay. We're gonna set this much money aside for the fines that we're gonna pick up by delaying Amtrak. Is that a real thing that happens? I have no idea. But I know that that kind of thing happens in other industries with similar constraints, so I could 100% believe it if it was. At the end of the day, if a fine can be hand waved as the cost of doing business, it's not very much of a fine, is it? It's just an inconvenience. You want a fine to be something that you want to avoid. A speeding ticket should be high enough that you don't want to speed because you might get one. If a speeding ticket was 90 cents, I would probably never take my foot off the gas pedal. Uh, the IHR Discord needs to take over Amtrak. Well, I don't know about that. Uh, but if we ever do a merger mania community playdate, you can always build your own railroad. So there's that. It would be funny to have a simulator game, like a management tycoon esque game, but it's just trying to do Amtrak. Excuse me. So you have to like deal with Congress. You have to deal with shoddy manufacturing and issues in all your rolling stock and everything. You have to deal with freight companies screwing you over. You know, you've got to play the political game and also the railroading game. You've got to like expand routes and services in places where people want them, um, et cetera, et cetera. I think that would be fun if you could execute it properly. I have no idea how you would execute anything like that, but you know. Next poll: should we take over Amtrak? Speaking of which, when are the polls up? I'm sorry, I just need to check real quick so I don't forget. Sign with OpenTTD. Oh, okay. So this is 6:43 a.m. This is 8:40. Oh, this is actually done. 8:46 p.m. That is done. I can pass that poll now. Don't the freight railroads have passenger equipment anyway? They don't. I mean, they don't have proper passenger equipment. They've got like office car trains, OCS, office car specials. There are not really many or any freight railroads that have a substantial amount of passenger equipment. I guess the two exceptions to that being Brightline, or the FEC, and I guess the Reading and Northern, right? The Reading and Northern has a lot of passenger equipment. They just don't use it for non-tourism purposes. They probably could if they wanted to. Those are going to class 1 lose license to operate, be lose profit, see dismantled. Yeah, that's not going to happen. They just need to keep fining them. Again, it needs to be an actual fine. Nobody's going to want to take over in the stead of a freight railroad. The class 1s, as much as I hate for these words to leave my mouth, the class 1s are too big to mess with like that. It's the same reason the judge ruled that BNSF employees couldn't strike. Something like that would be devastating for more people than just the company. On the one hand, strikes are good and collective action is good, and people should be in unions and have leverage against their employer. But at the same time, when a strike is going to affect the livelihoods of people that aren't just their employer, now you have bigger questions. Alaska Railroad is a good one. I forgot about the Alaska Railroad. They might as well be on a different planet. And yeah, I don't know. That's just the way. That's the way it is. But yeah, no, we're never gonna get anything hardball by the federal government to freight companies. Really, I would wager, mostly because, well, it'd be easy enough to say, well, the freight companies have them in their pocket, but that's only part of the story. The other part of the story is obviously that lawmakers are supposed to care about their constituents. And that means not allowing things to happen that would royally F over aforementioned constituents. Yeah, no, I hate saying those words, but they are kind of true in this case. Oh, we're gonna go at one. We're gonna go at a full percent here. We're going with the maximum ruling grade allowed. Uh, Maximum allowable gradient is 1% on the Gilson Eastern Main Line. Is this straightened? No. Although originally it was not supposed to be. Well, yeah, I guess it is. Never mind. Yeah, yeah, no, there's too much invested there at a level for lawmakers, like, they're not gonna turn their backs on those major companies for many, many reasons. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. This is almost bridge-worthy. I'm looking at that and going, that might be bridge-worthy, but it's probably more like culvert-worthy. Honestly, if I make this ditch a little bit deeper, it's going to be bridge-worthy. So I might make the ditch a little bit deeper. See, if we're talking about nationalization, a lot of people love to bring up nationalization. And it is a hot button issue, and I can understand with a lot of the points for it, and I don't necessarily disagree with them. Uh, but the thing is, when it comes to goods moving, there is a unfortunate trend, and I don't know if it's causation or correlation, but there is an unfortunate trend of, okay, we have a publicly owned um, railroad company now, and freight just sort of falls off a cliff. And I don't know why that is, but again, it may be correlation, it may be causation. But if you look at the freight railroads in Europe, they don't do nearly as much hauling as A, they used to, and B, US railroad, their US counterparts do. So, what do we make of that? And how do we apply that to the arguments for and against nationalization? I don't know. Um, and I can really only speculate. But it seems to me, if we're going to put them up side by side like that, it seems to me that there's some sort of inherent problem with the nationalization. And I don't necessarily want to admit that because you know, I'm relatively left in a lot of issues. But, it's important to point out where your own logic falters and where your own ideology fails you or fails the world at large. Nobody's perfect and no ideology is perfect. So if we think about this and we say, okay, um, we don't really have a handle on what that would do to railroading as a whole, except for maybe Conrail. But Conrail, despite being an example of American nationalization, is a poor example of what would happen when you nationalize now. At least I think so. And my rationale for that is that Conrail happened at a time when you could not. I'm going to have a hard left turn here. That's unfortunate. Conrail happened at a time where you could not have a functioning freight railroad in the Northeast. It, for multiple reasons. Number one, of course, being the collapse of the industrial sector in the Northeast as a whole, um, which meant that the railroads had nothing to move. And that's why we had Conrail. That's why we needed Conrail. I've always said that Conrail is the hero we needed, not the one we wanted, but definitely the one that we needed. And Conrail saved railroading in the Northeast. The profits got better. Did the service get better? That's debatable. In fact, I would argue that it's incredibly debatable. Yeah, and of course, Conrail was born out of an emergency. I can't understate that. Conrail wasn't doomed, though, and they didn't fail. Conrail succeeded. Conrail saved the Northeast railroading industry, as much as I hate to admit it, because I shouldn't like them. But because of all the things they did that I'm about to get to. You don't need to love Conrail. All you need to do is acknowledge the fact that they were there in a time of need for the railroading industry, the likes of which had never been seen before and quite possibly will never be seen again. Hopefully, will never be seen again. The railroad was. The Penn Central had just suffered the largest bankruptcy the world had ever seen. And something needed to happen because Penn Central, not unlike a modern day Class 1, is far too large to go under like that. At that point, you have a disaster on your hands. They were pretty too. I liked the blue. I mean, how can you not, really? Well, let's do 0.7 on this. So, Conrail was good, actually, because Conrail, despite what they had to do, eventually turned a profit and allowed the railroading industry to continue to exist. However, on the way, they dismantled miles and miles and miles of track. And that is important. That is a very important takeaway. Because, on the whole, I would argue that service was worse post-Conrail. And it has never improved. It has never gotten back to the level of Penn Central. Or its predecessor companies. And I'm not saying Penn Central had good service. If you think Penn Central had good service, go talk to the banker on a Rustic. But Conrail did what they had to do in order to keep the railroad as a whole alive. They cut out the fat. They made sacrifices to allow the industry to continue. And that was important, and it was valiant, and it was only because of a disaster that was the right course of action. In any other circumstance, in any other world, where you have railroads of that caliber, of Penn Central's size, if a railroad that size can turn a profit, you don't need to mess with it. You need to impose, or you don't need to mess with its administration beyond imposing things like workers' rights laws, etc. And then, actually going forward with the fines and whatnot. That's my take anyway. Effectively, I think it would be overkill, and I would be worried about a fall off in freight service because of one thing or another. Profit is an incredible motivator, and profit has a way of encouraging business to find the best way to do something. And while it may not be the best way, wow, I'm getting weird deja vu. While it may not be the best way for all parties, it may not be the best way for, I just realized I'm way past my contour line, and I need to be going up again. See, we are at, where are we? We're at like 56. And what did I say? This was going to be, oh, it's all the way over here. Yeah, so we're doing good, actually. And this is a 1% grade. I need to tone it down. I don't want it to be that hard. Because as it stands, this is almost as steep as a lot of the Volga Mountains. And I don't want to be pushing on the grades that much. I don't want to be causing that much trouble with the gradients we have. So But yeah, profit's a good motivator when something can make a profit. Once something stops being able to make a profit, that's when you start worrying. That's when I would start worrying. Uh, yeah, you need to efficient, simultaneously ethical, consumer-friendly transfer. I think is inherently unprofitable. I don't agree. I think that you can have ethical and good, ethical and consumer-friendly. That's a good word. I'll just borrow that from you. Uh, Ethical and consumer-friendly businesses. You just need to care about having a profit margin, just not only about the profit margin. You know what I mean? Could there be a scenario in which the management or movement could cause the collapse of our class ones? Probably not. Uh, I mean, overall, no. Individually, yeah, possibly. I mean, I think collapse is not in the cards. What is in the cards is certainly class ones abusing their power uh, at the legislative level and getting whatever the hell they want. That that I think is we should be resigned to that almost. Okay, so this is 62. I'm not saying give up, give in, but I am saying that that is something to be conscious of. Because if there was a BNSF strike, I think it would have been. I agree with the sentiment that it would have been a disaster for the railroad, but it would have also been a disaster for the employees because the railroad would have used this to bring in, uh, excuse me, to have scabs, etc. And more importantly than that, more importantly than all that, they would use this as an opportunity to push for one man crews, and that makes too much sense. I think it is something that I heard the notion. I went, whoa, like that's a thought. That is very much a thought, and so we discussed it on the podcast, and it is a reasonable idea of what could be brewing here, or what could have been brewing anyway. So in that situation, there's no way for the employees to win. But I don't think that that is a guaranteed situation. I think that happens at the behest of management, who decides that that is the situation that they want to perpetrate, like that is the world they want to live in. That they don't care about their employees and they don't really care about the service. They care about the margins and the shareholders and the cost of doing business and the profit from doing business, I should say. And it's not far fetched to think how could they do this? Well, because they can. It's not it's it shouldn't be surprising to anybody, I should say, uh, that this idea could be floating around. And this area can be flat, and this area can be flat, especially back over here. I'm not about to be a whatchamacallit. I'm not about to be a crier. I'm not about to be someone who's prophesizing the doom of or the death of American railroading or anything like that. Uh, but this is just a game that's being played. I mean, it's not a game because lives and livelihoods hang in the balance, but it may as well be. It's got rules, it's got players, it's got shenanigans, it's got people trying to figure ways around the rules and that sort of thing. It's got all the facets of a game. Uh, Everyone's out to win. Everyone's out to get the thing for themselves. It's not What is a defining feature of a game that makes you think this is a game such a bad thing? Is it not taking it seriously? I don't necessarily think so. I think it's the ultimate disregard for everything except for the win condition. And if the win condition is making more money personally, then that's all people are going to go for. If the win condition is for the CEO is making is putting more money in his own pocket, he'll get more money out of dismantling the railroad than keeping it around. Or if he figures that he can, that's what he's going to do. Or she. Or they. It's not going to nothing's going to stop them from doing that aside from regulations. Aside from the threat of being thrown in jail because you have screwed up railroading. How dare you? The foamers are very angry. Now you're going to foamer jail, and you don't want to go to foamer jail. But in seriousness, that's what we're up against. That's why things are the way they are. Is that the only possible outcome? No. But profit motive is profit motive. It gets to the worst situation where there isn't good customer service, employees aren't treated right. Eventually, a funneling point, it all just collapses. I don't agree. I don't necessarily. Not everything builds towards a critical mass. Not everything results in disaster. Sometimes something just forces an evolution. And while that may seem ridiculous, it is the way things tend to work. I mean, you can point to various civil revolutions as a kind of societal collapse, but at the end of the day, it's not really. Uh, until until we have a new confederacy, for lack of a better example, there has been no collapse. There has been no failure. There has just been a sort of forced evolution, and the railroads may have to do that as well. The railroads may have that on their hands, on their minds. Yeah, we can do. This is where I'm getting a little bit lost in my own curiosities here, because I would actually like to pull this back here. Yeah, no, absolutely something will change, but how and what and that sort of thing, still a massive, massive question. All right, this end of this track. There it is. I guess. I was going to say fans of warships and understanding of fans of warships and understanding of the evolution from battleships to carriers. Yeah, you had some remarkable moments along the way that resulted in the necessity to massively change the way doctrine was you know, considered and used and created. But it wasn't a overnight shift where suddenly everyone put their battleships away and decided, well, those are worthless as long as there are planes in the air. They still found use for them, utility in guarding the carrier group, etc., and occasionally for shooting at one another. It wasn't a revolution, it was an evolution. So I think we have this end of track here. This end of track is at... Where is it? I lost it again. Where'd it go? I'm staring right at it. Oh, it's over there. The end of track is right here. This should be 4M standard bump. I don't know why it's invisible. This track is at 58. This contour line I just drew, this is at 67. So we're too high already. All of this 1% grade is a little bit much. It's more than I would have liked. And I think I mean, we've sort of created a problem because of it. We're just getting up too high. Um, there were battle carrier proposals. I don't think any of them were particularly serious. The Japanese were more serious about their battle carrier designs. The the oh well, sorry. As okay, yes, sorry. No, you're right. Well, I won't say you're right. I don't know enough about the subject to dispute it really, but I do understand that there were, you know, there were desires to do that. Especially, I mean, what some of the Iowas had helicopter pads later in life, didn't they? So I'm visiting the New Jersey in a couple of months. That'll be my first time on an Iowa. We have the USS Massachusetts here, but I believe that's a South Dakota class. They never got the modernization that the other ones did. Anyway, we are too high already. I think I can just lay off the gradient a little bit. I'll bring it up to, let's see. If I go from here, I'm pretty sure they have helipads. I'd be surprised if they didn't. Even if it's just the Iowa, I'd be a little surprised if they didn't. Post-modernization. I know one of the Montanas, or I think either one of the Montanas or the last Iowa that was going to come off the stocks, was slated for conversion into a guided missile battleship, which I thought was really cool. Obviously, not a lot of sense, but okay, 61 and change. Oh right, I should be starting from over here. No, we can go up at a relatively shallow angle from here. I don't know. I just pick up things here and there. Especially when it comes to, well, everything. I know a lot. I know a little about a lot, but I don't know a lot about much. Okay, we're going to have to blend this. In fact, I think I'm going to start it a little bit higher. I'm going to start it at 62, right there. And I'm going to apply the gradient, like so. This is another one of those. We can't really... We have no rivers over here to deal with. We just have farmland. And I may end up building a couple of small rivers for us to cross. Yeah, it would make sense that you have a helipad on the battleships that were used like into Desert Storm. Um, Laffey, South Dakota, and Texas. Yeah, good luck with Texas. Or good luck to Texas, I should say. Not with. Because that isn't directed at you, it's directed at the fine folks that are working on her. And trying to get her not so sinky. If you're doing New Jersey, also visit the Olympia. Just gonna throw that out there. It might not be as modern, but that's part of the charm. The Olympia is a wonderful, wonderful ship. Alright, I'm gonna make a contour line here, actually. Actually, I don't need to make a contour line here, because what I can do is just 62, 66. I can do 62, 66. Now it's raining. The less modern, the better. Absolutely check out the Olympia. It is beautiful. It's the coolest ice machine I've ever seen. Crop K5 railway cannon. Where? I want to see that. I'm going to be in Philly for basically a weekend, and I know that most of the time is going to be taken up by the battleship and the armored cruiser. But if there's a railway gun, I want to see that. Maybe not immediately, but at some point. Philly is not too far away from me, really. Grand scheme of things, it's pretty close. I got round trip tickets including the Acela for like less than 200 bucks. Awesome. Oh hey, the heater turned back on. That's cool. I got to do a fan rank promotion, and then maybe I got to make a jokey poll about taking over Amtrak. The military base in that general area. I want to say West Virginia. Oh, well, unfortunately, that's not particularly close to Philadelphia. But you know, I do need to get to West Virginia as well. Got to get to a lot of places, you know. It's a big country. And if you're gonna be driving a truck, I wish you luck and hope that career doesn't evaporate before your eyes with the advent of automated XYZ. Humans need not apply. Robots took our damn gerbs. Isn't publicly available. Well, so we're breaking in to steal a railway gun is what I'm getting out of this. And so what? It's like the 587 except with Gustav. I know we were talking about underrated train games. 587 is a movie that is rated, I will say. Just rated. It's not good. Not good even really a little. It's kind of bad. That said, I loved it growing up. Also recommend coming to Lima, Ohio. Is it Lima or Lima? Is that where the Locomotive Works is from? Or Locomotive Works is? It wouldn't surprise me being Ohio. I've always pronounced it Lima when talking about the locomotives, but Lima when talking about the place. Which I know is bizarre. Okay, yeah, so Shays. Yes, of course it's Lima Locomotive Works. I mean, I have my respects to pay to them for the Berkshire, for the A1 Berkshire, best Berk there ever was. The OG. Other than that, I mean, I don't really care about Shays that much. I'm gonna go to West Virginia to see Shays. Did you know Cass has Shays? That station is correct for the Ohio 10, but elsewhere wrong. Okay. Okay. So, this is about as far as we're going to get today. I need to smooth this edge out. We made another chunk. We still need to build the hills over on this side. But we've made it from, over here to over here. And yes, we still have a long, long way to go. But as far as terrain goes, we're moving relatively quick. See Abrams depart. Yes. Anyway. With that, I'm not going to get digging into anything else today, so I will wind off the stream before my voice completely gives out, because my throat is killing me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next week. This is the Admiral, signing off. We'll see if the webhook works now. It's pronounced Lima.